Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Śrī Caitanya Jaya Nityānanda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Vande Guru Nisha Bhakta Nisha Nisha Avatarakan Tat Prakasham Tat Shakti Krishna Chaitanya Sangyakam Grantira Kori Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tinira Smarana Hoya Vigana Vinashana Anayasa Sapal Nija Vanchita Purana Shri Rupa Raghunatha Padayara Asha Caitanya-caritāmṛta Kahe Krishna Dasa Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Śrī Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Śrī Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvāsadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for joining. We are reading Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta Adi Lila, chapter 5, entitled The Glories of Lord Nityaānanda Balarāma, and we are at text 41. We have read halfway through. It's a pretty long purport. And just to give a brief background, we were discussing about the different seemingly contradictions like personal, impersonal, partial, impartial, fearful, fearless, heavy, light, nirguna, and above all guna, etc., where they all come together in the Supreme Lord. So, and we discuss multiple examples also. Let's read the next paragraph. Ignorance and the jugglery of the words are very common in human society, but they do not help one understand the inconceivable energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we accept such ignorance and word jugglery, we cannot accept the Supreme Lord's perfection in 6 opulences. For example, one of the opulences of the Supreme Lord is complete knowledge. Therefore, how could ignorance be conceivable in him? Vedic instructions and sensible arguments establish that the Lord's maintaining the cosmic manifestation and simultaneously being indifferent to the activities of the maintenance cannot be contradictory because of his inconceivable energies. To a person who is always absorbed in the thought of snakes, a rope always appears to be a snake. And similarly, to a person bewildered by material qualities and devoid of the absolute, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears according to diverse bewildered conclusions. Someone might argue that the absolute would be affected by duality if he were both all cognizance, Brahman, and the personality of Godhead with 6 opulences in full, Bhagavan. To refute such an argument, and the aphorism Swarupa Dvayam Ikshate declares that in spite of appearances, there is no chance of duality in the Absolute, for he is but one in diverse manifestations. Understanding that the Absolute displays varied pastimes by the influence of his energies at once removes the apparent incongruity of his inconceivable opposite energies. Srimad-Bhāgavatam 3.4.16 gives the following description of the inconceivable potency of the Lord. Karmani anihasya bhavo bhavasyate durgashrayo taribhayat.
3.4.16 Karmani anihasya bhavo bhavasya durgashrayo taribhayat. 3.4.16 Karmani anihasya bhavo bhavasya durgashrayo taribhayat. 3.4.17 Karmani anihasya bhavo bhavasya durgashrayo taribhayat. 3.4.18
palayanam kalat mano yad pramada yuta shrayah swatam ratehi khidyati dhir vidam iha. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead has nothing to do, he nevertheless acts, although he is always unborn. He nevertheless takes birth, although he is dying, fearful to everyone. He flees in Mathura of his enemy to take shelter in a fort. And although he is self-sufficient, he marries 16,000 women. These pastimes seem like bewildering contradictions even to the most intelligent. Had these activities of the Lord not been a reality, sages would not have been puzzled by them. Therefore, such activities should never be considered imaginary. Whenever the Lord desires, his inconceivable energy, Yogamaya, serves him in creating and performing such pastimes. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So, going back to this paragraph, we cannot understand the Lord through our material senses. The example given is the snake and the rope. A person who is completely absorbed in the thoughts of the snake, right, day and night thinking about snake. So if suddenly that person sees as a rope, guess what? They'll think, oh, it's a snake. Quite natural, because they are absorbed in those thoughts. So here the snake represents material desires or material thoughts. A person who is fully in charge, enthused, absorbed in material desires, material qualities, material things, how can that person understand the Supreme Being? Even if the Supreme Being comes in front of him, he will think that Supreme Being as another material being. Correct? That's the example here given. Therefore, we need to purify our senses. And we discussed yesterday, we need to approach the bona fide scriptures, bona fide guru, to understand the bona fide knowledge, tattvataha. Otherwise, these contradictions will seem, and it will bewilder our faith. It will take us, oh, this is not possible. This is imaginary. This is too much. 16,000 women. How can one marry 16,000 women? Okay, 1 I understand, 2 I understand, okay, 5, okay, 10, okay, 20, okay, at max 100, but 16,000, that's a little bit too much. One will start putting mental jugglery, ignorance, and all that. But why? Because we are thinking, oh, how I am, and I try to fit God in that picture. Materialistic people. And if I cannot be at 16,000 places at once, how can he be? The point is that he is a Supreme Lord. That's why I am a tiny jiva, and he is a Supreme Lord. There is nothing impossible for him. He can do whatever he wants. He is the cause of all causes. Even in the material world, some, like the Dr. Frog analogy fits also very nicely here. That the frog in the well can only think of the size of the well. He cannot fathom the size of the ocean, right? So, and these examples are also given, which we just read. I won't repeat again. But the point is that he can do whatever he wants through his different energies, which may be inconceivable, but that does not mean that's false. That just means that how great our Krishna is. Any more comments anyone has in this reading? Let's read the next part. Someone want to read? Yes, Vaswati Mataji, you want to read?
Yes, Guruji. The scriptures known as the Pancharatra Shastras are recognized Vedic scriptures that have been accepted by the great acharyas. These scriptures are not products of the modes of passion and ignorance. Learned scholars and brahmanas therefore always refer to them as Sattvata Samhitas. The original speaker of the scriptures is Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is especially mentioned in the Moksha Dharma 349.68, which is part of the Shanti Parva of the Mahabharata. The liberated sages like Narada and Vaishya, who are free from the 4 defects of conditioned souls, are the propagators of these scriptures. Sri Narada Muni is the original speaker of Pancharatra Shastra. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is also considered a Sattvata Samhita. Indeed, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu declared Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Puranam Amalam. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a spotless Purana. Malicious editors and scholars who attempt to misrepresent the Pancharatra Shastras to refute their regulations are most abominable. In the modern age, such malicious scholars have even commented misleadingly upon the Bhagavad Gita, which was spoken by Krishna, to prove that there is no Krishna. How the Mayavadis have misrepresented the Pancharatrika Vidhi will be shown below. Number 1, in commenting on Vedanta Sutra 2.2.42, Sripad Shankaracharya has claimed that Shankarshana is a jiva, an ordinary living entity, but there is no evidence in any Vedic scripture that devotees of the Lord have ever said that Shankarshana is an ordinary living entity. He is an infallible plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Vishnu category, and he is beyond the creation of material nature. He is the original source of the living entities. The Upanishads declare Nitya, Nityanam, Chaitanas, Chaitananam. He is the supreme living entity among all the living entities. Therefore, he is Vibhu Chaitanya, the greatest. He is directly the cause of the cosmic manifestation and the infinitesimal living beings. He is the infinite living entity, and ordinary living entities are infinitesimal. Therefore, he is never to be considered an ordinary living being, for that would be against the conclusion of the authorized scriptures. The living entities are also beyond the limitations of birth and death. This is the version of the Vedas, and it is accepted by those who follow scriptural injunctions and who have actually descended in the disciplic succession. So, Prabhuji, that the scriptures known as the Pancharatra Shastra, which is the one where Krishna gave it to Brahmaji when Brahma actually, the Madhu and Kaitava stole the Vedas and from Brahma, and he was sleeping. Is that the one Pancharatra Shastra? And then Krishna, and then Brahma asked to Jogamaya, but Krishna actually gave this Pancharatra, this knowledge to Brahma in 5 nights. Is that the same?
I have to double check, Mataji. But this was primarily given by Narad Muni, the Pancharatrika Vidhi, which primarily tells about deity worship, and which is followed in there are 2 types of Vidhi, Pancharatrika Vidhi and Bhāgavata-sevayā. This tells about the rules and regulations which are followed in ISKCON as well, like for deity worship, etc.
And Prabhupada says that Bhagavad Vidhi and Pancharatrika Vidhi, both Vidhi. So first when Prabhupada came, I was reading the ISKCON Desire Tree, that blog. And when Prabhupada came first time in the United States, he first gave that Bhagavat-vidhi, which is Shravanam and Kirtanam. And after that, he said like Pancharatrika Vidhi is important, which is deity worship, but Bhagavad Vidhi is more important than the Pancharatrika Vidhi. Like both are like interrelated. That's what Prabhupada first, when he came, he told that. Please, Prabhuji, please add.
एकांत की भक्ति पंचरात्रि की विधि विना एकांत की विधि उत्पात एव इकल्पते. When we give up the guidelines of the scriptures like Pancharatrika Vidhi, etc., the Bhagavad Vidhi, these are considered like two parallel tracks of the train. The train of bhakti has to nicely balance on these two parallel tracks, right? Which is basically Niyam Agraha and Niyam Agraha. We can also link it to that. Niyam Agraha means not following, the scripture guideline, like giving up the scripture guidelines altogether. Okay, what's the purpose of rules and regulation? Ultimately, bhava, bhava, bhava. But to get that bhava stage or that uttama bhakti stage, that unalloyed, spontaneous, loving devotional service, we need a system. We need discipline and training. Is it not? For anything, like learning a musical instrument or learning art or learning cooking, learning anything, we have to follow in the beginning at least the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master for that particular skill and just follow what they say, right? Okay, put 2 tablespoons of salt, then we put 2 tablespoons. Don't ask like, okay, why not 5, right? Is it not? We do that. And when we do it, then we will learn nicely. That's basically like the Pancharatrika system. Do this, don't do this, get up at this, and etc., etc. Today I was hearing a class by His Grace Sarvabhauma Prabhu, who's a very nice Bhagavad speaker. He mentioned to know about the material world, there is a very, very famous, news channel called BBC, right? BBC News. I think you all may have heard at least that there is something called BBC News. He gave this analogy or this comment. To know about the spiritual world or bhakti, also there's a spiritual BBC. BBC, Bhagavad Gita, Bhāgavatam, Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Bhagavad Gita are the words of the Lord. Bhāgavatam is about the Lord and his devotees. And Caitanya-caritāmṛta is the mind of the Lord. Therefore, it's very high. Let's go here. It's a hidden, it's a secret. So, they go like they're one level deep, like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and then Caitanya-caritāmṛta. So BBC, we can remember that. Easy to. So in the point is that these scriptures are not in mode of passion or ignorance. They are called apurusha. Apurusha, that means they are not written by Tom, Dick, and Harry, some ordinary arrogant Athukera. They're written by Vyasadeva, Narad Muni, Brahma, etc. These souls are the incarnations of the Lord, or the Lord himself come, like literary incarnation, or sends his bona fide representatives. Even Prabhupada did not say this is my commentary. Prabhupada said, I am just writing this. Krishna made me write. Therefore, he would read his books with great joy, because as he said, these are not my books. These are called like Bhakti Vedanta purpose. Prabhupada spent like day and night to give us this nectar, referring to the different acharyas, Baldev Vidyabhushan, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, and so many others he referred. And again, time and again, we read those names that Sridhar Swami says this, Baldev Vidyabhushan says this, Srila Rupa Goswami says this, etc., etc. That means how much heat Prabhupada did for all of us. So these souls are free from the 4 defects of imperfect senses, cheating propensity, tendency to be illusion, and tendency to make mistakes. Conditioned souls have these 4 defects. So the knowledge which comes out of the conditioned souls is also defective, right? But the knowledge which comes from the pure sampradaya in the disciplic succession is apurusha, is free from any defects. Basically, they are the words of the God. And then there is discussion about Sankarshana. Shankaracharya says he is in Jiva, but no other Vaishnavacharya says that. And there are multiple verses to prove that point also. Any other points, any thoughts, comments before we move to the next paragraph? Okay. Would someone want to read? Take this second point, second and third, maybe.
Sure, Prabhupada. Hare Kṛṣṇa devotees, Nityaṁ. In answer to Shankaracharya's commentary in Vedanta Sutra 2.2.43, it must be said that the original Vishnu of all the Vishnu categories, which are distributed in several ways, is Mula Sankarshan. Mula means the original. Sankarshan is also Vishnu, but all the other Vishnus expand. This is confirmed in Brahma Samhita 546, wherein it is said that just as a flame transferred from other flame acts like the original, so the Vishnu who emanate from Mula Sankarshana are as good as original Vishnu. One should worship that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, who thus expands himself. In reply to the commentary of Shankaracharya on the 44th Aparsam, it may be said that no pure devotee strictly following the principle of Pancharatra will ever accept the statement that all the expansions of Vishnu are different identities, for this idea is completely false. Even Sripada Shankaracharya in his commentary on the 42nd Aparsam has accepted that the personality of Godhead can automatically expand himself variously. Therefore, his commentary on the 42nd Aparsam and his commentary on the 44th Aparsam are contradictory. It is a defect of Madhva's commentaries that they make one statement in one place and the contradictory statement in another place as a tactic to refute the Bhagavata school. Thus, Mayavadi commentators do not even follow regulative principles. It should be noted that Bhagavata school accepts a quadruple form of Narayana, but this does not mean that it accepts many gods. Devotees know perfectly all that the absolute truth. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one without a second. They are never pantheist worshippers of many gods, for this is against the injunction of Vedas. Devotees completely believe in strong faith that Narayana is the transcendental and inconceivable proprietorship of the various transcendental potencies. We therefore recommend that scholars consult the Bhagavatamrita of Srila Rupa Goswami, where these ideas are explicitly stated. Sripada Shankaracharya has tried to prove that Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha expanded through cause and effect. He has compared them with earth and earthen pots. That is completely ignorant. However, for there is no such thing as cause and effect in their expansions. Nainad yat sad asat param. The Kurma Purana also confirms dehi dehi vibhedo yam nisvarve vidyut kvachit. There is no difference between the body and soul in Supreme Personality of Godhead. Cause and effect are material. For example, it is seen that a father's body is a cause of son's body, but the soul is neither cause nor effect. On the spiritual platform, there are none of the differences we find in cause and effect, since all of the forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are spiritually supreme. They are equally controllers of material nature, standing on the fourth dimension. They are predominating figures on the transcendental platform. There is no trance of material contamination in their expansions because material laws cannot influence them. There is no such rule as cause and effect outside the material world. Therefore, the understanding of the cause and effect cannot approach the full transcendental complete expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic literature proves this. Om Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnamidashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. What I understood here, Krishna is complete. There is no cause and effect kind of thing in a spiritual world that only is in this material world, because he is complete. As you always mention, like, if we have some money and if we give some money to, one few people, and we'll be left with zero. But Krishna is not like that. In his expansions, he is complete in himself. Of course, he has some partial expansions, but all his, they have all the potency of the Lord Krishna. Of course, the qualities may differ, but his, even the soul, he can expand himself as multiple, avatars. In fact, he expands, in the material world also in the partial expansions, and he has many guna avatars, lila avatars, purusha avatars, and all many. But even though when he expands, it is still he is the Purnam. And there is no cause and effect. So Prabhupada also mentioned how some Mayavadi philosophers and Shankaracharya devotees try to deviate, but at the end of the time, even Shankaracharya composed Bhaja Govindam, and he said that Govinda is the supreme. That's what I understood. Prabhuji, please add. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. And I really like this point here that Mayavadi commentators do not even follow the regulative principles. That's very sad. To comment on the Supreme Lord, one needs prior qualification. These regulative principles bring us to the human level. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. They bring us to the human level, not to us advanced devotee level. So if someone is not even following that, Prabhupada said it like an animal. What to speak of even going higher. And so Bhakti is not an armchair philosophy. Bhakti is practical. Bhakti is philosophy of engaging our actions with the spirit of devotion. The whole world is celebrating the World Yoga Day, but the real yoga is Bhakti Yoga. To connect Krishna with loving devotional service. That's really yoga. To connect. And in this day and age, to connect to God, Supreme Lord, the best, easiest, sublime process is Bhakti Yoga, which helps to have a holistic life, balanced life, healthy body, healthy mind, and connect that body and mind in the service of Lord, Kaya, Vacha, Manasa, by keeping it healthy, taking Krishna Prasad, chanting the holy names, and then share with others. Very simple. Okay, any more comments, thoughts anyone has? So I guess we can read the third, we can complete the third point here. So I'm not sure this devotee, Samsung, who joined from Samsung device, are in a position to read. Okay, I'll just complete this third point. Prabhuji read this wonderful shloka from Ishopanishad. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect, all the emanations from him, such as phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as the complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete by itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he still remains a complete balance. What's infinite minus infinite is infinite, right? Infinite divide by 100 million is also infinite. So it does not reduce. That's the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 5.1. It is most apparent that non-devotees violate the rules and regulations of the devotional service to equate the whole cosmic manifestation, which is the external feature of Vishnu, with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the controller of Maya, or with his quadruple expansions. So what are they saying? That those people who break the regulative principles, they are equating the cosmic manifestation with the external feature of the Vishnu, which is external feature of the Vishnu, with the Supreme Lord. So basically, they are equating this material world or pantheism, which in like Virat Rupa, Virat Rupa is not it's like the external aspect. You know, worshipping mountains, the word pantheism came just in the previous paragraph. Oh, mountain god, someone worshipping rivers as god, not like Ganga and etc. But any river is, or any tree, just pick up any tree, that's God. Oh, my God is my insect. Oh, my God is my dog. Okay, my God is my mountain. My God is my backyard. Yes, people do that. My God is, whatever. Equating Maya with spirit or Maya with the Lord is a sign of atheism. The cosmic creation, which manifests life in the form of which manifests life in forms from Brahma to the ant, is the external feature of the Supreme Lord. It comprises 1/4 of the Lord's energy, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Ekamshen Sthito Jagat. So this cosmic creation, referring to the material world, is 1/4. Ekapad Vibhuti. 1/4 is material world. That doesn't mean we start worshipping things of this material world and say, hey, this is God. This cosmic manifestation of the illusionary energy is the material nature, and everything within the material nature is made up of matter. Therefore, one should not try to compare the expansions of the material nature to the Chaturvyuha. So if someone says, okay, my thing made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether, bhumi, apo, nalo, vayu, made up of these 8 elements, and say, hey, this is Chaturvyuha, this is my notebook is my God, my home is God, or my chappal is my God. But people do all sorts of nonsense. So therefore, one should not try to do this. To compare the material nature to the Chaturvyuha, the quadruple expansion of the personality of Godhead. But unfortunately, the Mayavadi school unreasonably attempts to do this. Everything is God, everything is one. Soham, or Aham Brahmasmi, I'm that, you are that, everything is God. Everything is non-dual. Right? Advaita. Dvi means two. Advaita. Advaita means one. So everything is one. God is one. Or I am God. Therefore, in the Mayavadi, there is Ekadanda Sannyas. That means you become one with God. But all this is not accepted in the Vaishnava school. So, any more comments, thoughts anyone has? Any questions, concerns? Is it too technical? We're having...
Yeah, Prabhuji, I think it is little technical, but Prabhupada has made it, and with your explanation, we are able to understand a little bit. Because whenever this Mayavada philosophy comes and expansions comes and all, it becomes a little technical.
Okay, I'll tell a Prabhupada pastime to make it mild. Gurudas Prabhu was in Banaras with Prabhupada. When Prabhupada was supposed to give a class and go to this Mayavadi, I forgot the name of the city where they were, but they were in India. Prabhupada with his disciples, and a lot of Mayavadis were also supposed to come. They're like Kumbh Mela or somewhere in that area. And Prabhupada was supposed to give a class, but his health did not allow to be present there. So he was, he could not go to give that class. He sent Gurudas Prabhu. And, it was like an pretty much open forum, different people coming, different spiritual leaders coming and speaking. Gurudas Prabhu, on behalf of ISKCON, spoke. You are saying everything is one? A lot of people must have said, oh, God is one, everything is one, we are God, this, that, all that, blah, blah, blah. Tell me, the rasgulla, the rasgulla in the sweet shop and the stool, the waste of the body, are they same? And everyone was like, what? We will all want to eat rasgulla, but we don't want to eat stool. No one wants to eat stool. And disciples, so some of them were a little bit like, basically they felt, oh, he's asking us to eat stool. So they came to Prabhupada. Oh, Prabhupada, your disciple is asking us to eat stool. He says, no, Prabhupada, I didn't say like that. I was just giving an analogy that everything is not one. And then Prabhupada said to them, okay, my young American disciples, they are a little bit passionate and a little bit, sorry, okay. I had to keep that kind of, not to panic or create a, but later then ask Gurudas Prabhu, oh, what example you give? Rasgulla and the stool? Very nice example, good job. So in short, it's not same. Yes, they, even like is chili and, like gulab jamun same. One may say, well, they're same in the category of food, even the category of food. Like samosa and let's say, rice. They both are food, but they're still different, right? Rice and roti, they're both food, but still they are different. That's the achintya bheda. They are same in tattva, right? Food category, but there is still difference. Or one can say they're still made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether, correct? Or it's a product of God's creation. Even stool is product of God's creation, but that does not mean it's the same as food, correct? So yes, everything is product of God's creation. That does not mean we start worshipping stool, or we start worshipping a rice, or start worshipping anything and everything as God. Yes, we have to give proper respect, and that's one of the definitions of spirituality, to give the right respect, to see things in the true perspective, and use them with the right intentions for the right purpose they're intended for, or whatever the right use is. That's bhakti. So just thought to share this pastime based on this theme and remembering BBC. Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta ki jai, Shri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripasindubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo. Thank you so much. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Krishna.